presenter is Julian Ammirante, and Julian is a PhD candidate in the Department of Political Science at York University. The title of his talk is The Perils of Shared Delivery as a Model for University-College Collaborations in Ontario, the case of Laurentian University and Georgian College.
Okay, a couple of caveats before I begin. For starters, I'm going to blaze through this because there is a lot of material here, and my Italo-Latin background will probably distract you from what I'm really talking about. Okay, the accent, the gesticulation, and I'll try to keep the cursing to a minimum. I've been basically contract faculty now for about 17 years. I started as an MA, and you know, this is something that seems to be completely neglected of the discussion, particularly this morning, even though Jim Coutts' presentation was phenomenal. It was completely one-sided on tenured faculty. No discussion about contract faculty, which we are becoming the overwhelming majority. And one of the reasons is I also come from a working class background, a mining town in Sudbury, worked up there. So, you know, money didn't come readily available, so I had to teach to finish my PhD, which is in the latter stages, okay? The third thing is much of this work is based on one document and on the efforts of two academics. There are a couple, particularly one, and I really think that they need to be mentioned here, Marianne Vardalos and Anis Karzai, who actually put the symposium together in 2009. The two of them, I would say, metaphorically speaking, jumped on a grenade for all of us, and in many ways opened the door for what happened to me. The next thing is that I basically took the ball and ran. As being a lifelong organizer, growing up in a union town, in the union family, I realized exactly where the pressure points were. Sorry. Is that mine? Yeah. That's not mine, it's actually somebody else's. Thank you, Kristen. No, actually, in growing up in a union town, you know, and being part of the union movement from a very, very young age, you're able to see the pressure points. And one of the things that I realized very quickly was that the only way we were going to get an administrative link within this was to organize the students through a voluntary organization. I paid with the loss of my job. Literally, I mean, the metaphor I could extend into the Walmart metaphor was tried to organize a union and I was fired for it. Through the efforts of several individuals, some of them students, well, overwhelmingly students, one within my faculty association, and I got to see faculty associations have done an extraordinarily poor job in defending all of us. Also a couple of individuals, I was reinstated shortly afterwards. So this comes out of a personal experience. So what I'm going to start to do is, I don't want to get into the high abstractions of neoliberalism. God damn it, I think we've talked about this enough now for 30 years and its mutation. I think it's about time we actually start talking about strategies, okay? And organize ourselves and get beyond this kind of navel gazing that academia seems to be so preoccupied with. Look how smart I am, and look how I can pinpoint where neoliberalism is mutated. There was, and I want to begin with this as my kind of overview. There was something going around the internet a couple of years ago in the blogosphere by this person out of the United States called the Homeless Adjunct. And I strongly suggest you look it up. And this person basically titled, How the University Was Killed in 5 Steps. And I'm using this as my model. And essentially, the 5 steps went as follows. Number 1 was you defund higher public education. Of course, we don't need to go into the details. We know the wide range that this has been done. Number 2, you deprofessionalize and impoverish the professors. And I think we've been seeing over the past 30 years how we have been proletarianized and have become literally, I would say, service workers. I remember at one point in my discussion with a high-ranking administrator, when she questioned my actions, I says, listen, I go, what do I got to lose? I can go work at Tim Hortons at this point and actually get benefits and get paid better than what I'm doing. So I only have my own shackles to free myself from, you know what I mean? The third one was you move the managerial administrative class who take over the governance of the university. This is, to me, apocryphal. I mean, we have given university over to administrators. The numbers are staggering. I cannot get onto the internet, but in the United States, the numbers are extraordinary. And this is responsible, quite frankly, for the explosion in wages. Most of these administrators are in the six-figure range, and I'm sorry, I want to be a little bit to shoot from the hip, but I can turn the pages of the phone book just as good as they can. And this is where the real explosion in wages, this goddamn myth that professors are overpaid and underworked is absurd. Okay. The fourth one was you move in the corporate culture and the corporate money. Once again, I don't think I need to with everybody in this room, need to go into details how that is happening. The fifth one is you destroy the students. And the way you destroy the students is a very, very old method is you kill public space. The examples of that are tremendous in terms of, not even being able to actually even put anything on the walls or actually even sit in public spaces, okay? Public spaces have been taken over by corporate campaigns, they've been taken over by, Subway, Starbucks, whatever. So within this framework, I want to kind of present now this kind of work, which is the primary document, which is really the work of Marianne. And I want to get into what exactly shared delivery is. Many of Ontario's universities and colleges identify accessibility as the primary rationale for the recent proliferation of what they call joint, consecutive, and concurrent programs. And they're designed for rapid and convenient degree and diploma completion. So essentially what I'm saying here is, in the mid-1990s, this wonderful paper came out of the Cambridge Journal of Economics by a person by the name of Perils, who talks about accumulation of advanced economies, spatial, technological, and social frontiers, and basically pointed out how the next frontiers of accumulation would be, healthcare, education. So essentially what they've turned this place into is a diploma. And what we've seen here is, I'm not kidding when I say this, degrees granted in things such as Gulf studies, okay? University degrees. And this was the thing, and if they could pluck anybody off the street to teach them, they would do that. The Ontario Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities continues to offer these incentives to institutions willing to collaborate in offering multiple entry points into flexible transfer between colleges and universities. And these collaborations are held up as the ideal way to increase access to post-secondary education and as a way of forward and encouraging student success in building what they call these skilled workforce. And again, this is the pretext. This is the rhetoric, the reality is something else. As a matter of fact, I'd go so far that the shared delivery program is the Trojan horse to completely destroy what is existing at the university. At the same time, there are these, the growing concerns within the academic community that efforts to make higher education accessible by custom programming, to cater to the busier schedule of more local areas, these commuter universities. This has led to a dramatic decline in the already eroded standard of equality, right? Get them in, get them out. I remember at my time at York, when we were at strike the first time in 2000, okay? As TAs, not the second time, the first time. They refer to us, to students as RGUs, constantly, until somebody said, what the hell is an RGU? And it was revenue generating units, okay? All these areas, there's all these concerns about this. What ends up happening is you get basically burgeoning class sizes, excessive workloads, the worst one might be grade inflation. Essentially because the concern that college education is now being sold to students as the equivalent of the university education. And college faculty are completely unsupported by their institutions. Particularly here in Ontario under the Ontario Colleges Act. No academic freedom. Qualifications are something of the past. As a matter of fact, where I come from, at Laurentian in Georgian, they've actually advertised for jobs. Are you ready for this? In Workopolis, okay, academic jobs. So you can actually see the kind of end run that they've been doing around these things, right? These partnerships are financially driven, okay, purely financially driven. Administrators of both institutions turn a blind eye to the quality of the program, the incompatibility of college and university systems of governance, the credentials of faculty that are hired to teach, the working conditions. The level of the students is unbelievable. One of the things that basically hastened my dismissal was I did organize a roundtable discussion you know, there's only about 1,400 students in the university section of the college. And we wanted people to bring their concerns, and we had a packed house. We had as many as 250 students show up into a very, very small theater. And it was amazing to find out that, you know, you always hear these stories that seem to be anomalous, where one student may have taken the same course 3 or 4 times because, you know, the numbers changed, or that they're always 5 or 6 courses short. This was not an anomaly, it was across the board. Almost every student had a story to say, because essentially Laurentian was glad to get the money, right? But they provided no overhead, and they let the registrar's office of the college immediately, what we would say, Georgianize them, right? And in the classic economic sense, that's free riders, right? Because what do? They get these 1,400, 1,500, and never mind all the part-time students that come into the college system. They become part of the college, you know, accounting system, and this is how they get their funding, right? The last time I looked, we called this larceny, okay? And I mean, these are the things, right? You also have these partnerships that are being forged. I mean, they epitomize this kind of arrangement by where university curriculum is directed by college management, okay? And there are your administrators. They're designed predominantly by college hired, college supervised, and again, these kind of paid faculty, but the majority of the teaching labor force being done purely on a part-time basis. These credits are accepted directly towards university degree, but they never match. They never match. It's hilarious once these young men and women finish their degrees and they want to perhaps finish their, because it's never a full year, 4 year, it's about 2 or 3 years, and they want to transfer these credits to say Ryerson, York, Trent, even Laurentian. Guess what? Almost half of those credits are not even recognized. So what do these students have to do again? Is they have to basically, once again, pay that tuition that's higher. And here's an interesting little fact. We know that Ontario's tuition for students is among the highest across Canada. Laurentian students at Georgian College were paying $900 above that higher. And they were not getting any sort of register requirement, any sort of kind of, there was nothing for them. There was not even a library, and that is the truth. Okay, listen, I'm going to stop here because this is a very long document, and I do get into things such as academic freedom, collegial governance, the hiring process, the workload assignment, curriculum development, research. It is extensive. I've spent a great deal of time going through this incredible document that they produced and attaching, shall we say, you know, the more theoretical aspects. But there is one thing I do want to say, and I want to speak again about this idea of what students can do. I identified immediately that what was missing in this kind of partnership agreement and what I seem to happen across the board was that the administrative link was missing. And the administrative link that was missing was, I mean, that was crucial to the accountability. So the best way to do it was to form a voluntary student association, which therefore would be granted a Senate seat. This immediately, you know, being a political scientist, we know about institutions and how they work. This is immediately what I put into action. This is what I paid a high price for. And it was literally the students, not faculty, okay? Faculty has become staid, it's become sclerotic, faculty association. I think this is the problem. Most of our colleagues are completely uneducated in the workings of business. I mean, not just business, I'm sorry, but also labor relations. Okay, and we get people from the business department taking over unions. In the discussion I once had with my faculty association leader, was talking to my good colleague here, Jan, I said, it's your job to be political. And he says, I don't think it's the role for a union to be political. I literally just, I had to get up. I made up the fact that I had another appointment, otherwise I was going to take off my shoe and hit him, because that's how upset I was about this. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that it's the labor process that needs to be the focus on. Just like, I mean, the problems that we have are the problems of the labor movement writ large, okay? It's not this idea that we have to impute the labor process to other trends. It's our labor process. And there has to be lines in the sand over the smallest administrative functions, okay? Literally, I mean, this is where faculty, that's their power. Literally, office space, when they don't give it to you, no, that's guaranteed. No, this is a workplace. Workplace safety, okay? teaching the breaks, all of this stuff. This has to be, I mean, until we realize that this is where we have to fight, okay, in terms of collective bargaining agreements, this is the only way we're going to reverse this process, or even have a hope of reversing this process. I mean, I think that faculty associations have to stop with the interest on cost of living increases, okay, and all of these perks that they seem to get, and then focus right back down to the labor process, because we are part of a knowledge production, okay? And that is, at the end of the day, a material process, okay? It's human effort. I mean, you can kind of, I'll just wrap up. You can make it as much as you want about these abstractions of neoliberalism and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, this is about human effort, okay? And this is literally about work. And until faculty associations don't realize this, or us, this will not change. I'm sorry. It will result in more fires. Thank you.